Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Balaton Park circuit here in Hungary for round 2 of our Ferrari Challenge Europe 2024 calendar. So race 1 is going to be for our Coppa Shell AM drivers, some 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. We are situated just a few hundred meters from Lake Balaton, which is a glorious part of Hungary here, very much a holiday area. Round 1 was in Mugello. Here we are in Hungary for round 2, ahead of Jerez. Then it's Portimao, La Casale, Nürburgring and Imola, completing what is a very, very attractive 2024 calendar for Ferrari Challenge Europe. As you can see, a bit of cloud cover here at Budapest. We have had some rain. As you can see, the track conditions are moist in places. And the qualifying sessions earlier on were a mix of dry weather and wet weather as well. So the conditions are particularly challenging for our drivers. And there you can see the grid assembling ahead of the Coppa Shell AM Race 1.
The Ferrari Esports series is back, and this year's is bigger and better than ever. For the first time in the series history, you can now compete on iRacing alongside season regulars Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione. The series is broken down into 4 stages: hot laps, regional qualifiers, regional finals, and a grand final. Racers from EMEA, APAC, and the Americas regions are welcome to compete, with the possibility of winning a Ferrari Esports contract, as well as much more. Register today and join the grid.
And I urge you to consider that. Join it, a fantastic opportunity. Brilliant stuff. So, as you can see, there is blue skies, but cloud is never far away, seemingly, here in Hungary. And with cloud comes rain potential. Forecast for this afternoon actually is pretty strong, to be honest, and we hope, with our fingers crossed, that it stays dry for the race. Alongside me is Nico Spalek. You've acted as something of a meteorological expert in terms of trying to research as much as you can, but I think for our race action this afternoon, we should be okay, shouldn't we?
I will make no more predictions after the last few days, but yes, that's what the forecast says, but we just had a 20% rain percentage turn into a thunderstorm and, and a real downpour. So let's just wait and see.
So there you can see the Eric Chung car ready to do battle. Round 1 was held in Mugello in Italy just a couple of weeks ago, and what an opener it was. Coppa Shell AM got off to a blistering start in Mugello with rookie Zoe Skirmishes in a lead role, claiming the first pole of the season. Andreas Koenig finally outdueled the Greek newcomer, but had to fight hard all the way to claim victory in race 1. And in race 2, Andrea Levy started from pole position, but Skirmishes wrestled away the lead, one of many overtakes during a truly entertaining race, earning him a win during his first ever race event, and also the championship lead going into round 2. So there we can see final preparations for Zoe Skirmishes going on with, there you can see Giorgio Sonagiotto, his driver coach and team boss, looking after him. They're the 134 car of Mutlu Tazev for Emil Ferrari Racing, who had a good qualifying session and making it up to P5 on the grid for this afternoon's race. 1:36.588 was the lap time posted by the driver from Emil Ferrari Racing. The 186 car, which is a truly extraordinary livery. I really like it. It's simple, but it is stunning. And that is the Jan Sandman Kessel Racing driver. Jan Sandman, coached there by Charlie Hollings. You can see who's just putting his head into the cockpit of the car to offer final words of advice to Jan Sandman ahead of racing. Now, what's going on here? Wet tyres going on, Nico? Slicks coming off?
Yeah, exactly.
Or slicks going on?
I think maybe different strategies with different cars. We did, and we just mentioned it. We had a downpour like 45 minutes ago, and it is a very interesting strategy. The circuit certainly is still wet. But is it wet enough for wets, and is it going to stay wet enough for wets?
Well, as looking at the forecast now, I would say not. And the thing is, you and I both know that for wet weather tyres to work and work well, they've got to stay wet. And as the track is drying out, those wet weather tyres, the blocks of rubber, basically, they don't work as well if you don't have any moisture on the circuit, and they wear away very, very quickly. And so if I was a racing driver, which I am not, I would think that probably the first few laps on slicks are going to be very, very dicey. But when it comes to the when you get to the second half of the race, assuming we have no more precipitation, slicks is going to be the way to go. What do I know? All I do is talk about it and talk about what I see. What I do know is the Go Motorsport driver from Haupt Racing Team, Andreas Koenig, they got the strategy exactly right during qualifying. I spoke to Andreas right after qualifying, and he said, Dave, it was nothing to do with me. It was the team. And that team, run by Manuel Reuter, himself a fairly successful racing driver, and I'm underplaying how big Manuel is. And he said, no, all along we knew that to do this, it was to do what we did. And he actually set and went out and did less laps than anybody else, left it to the second half of the session. And it paid dividends because he's going from P1. And I think, having looked at this 4.1 kilometre circuit here at Balaton, having walked it last night, I think the key to success here could very well be track position.
Oh, 100%. I mean, where is it not? But this narrow track really is. And when we talk about slicks and wets, I mean, there is two parts of that. One is the end of the race, but then turn one on slicks. Grip level, that's going to be dicey. And, you know, you'd rather be at the very front where the chance of someone else taking you out is not minimal, but it is less. So another advantage of being to the forefront, less danger of all the skirmishes which may appear in these changeable conditions affecting you.
Hassan Dabusi, who made his debut in the Ferrari Challenge at the Winter Series that we held in Abu Dhabi right at the beginning of the year. We could see his prowess then, and he's joined the European Challenge, and it's great to have Hassan Dabusi with us. He took part in the opening round at Mugello, of course, ahead of a full season campaign, and we wish Hassan Dabusi well in race one of Coppa Am here at Balaton. It is the Ferrari Challenge, it is season 2024, and we are at a brand new circuit. Yes, the Balaton Park circuit here in Hungary. It was a blank sheet of paper for all of the drivers as well as all of us as well, and I have to say it's been dramatic, and drama is, I have to say, in motorsport what we really, really love. It's why the Ferrari Challenge is so revered around the world. Andrea Levy, who is going from P6 on the grid, a third row start for Andrea Levy, then the Rosso Corsa driver. And even as we speak, I can see from other images that we have thrown into our studio here, decisions are being made right at the very last minute in terms of what rubber the driver's going to run, whether it's going to be the Pirelli slicks, whether it's going to be the Pirelli wet weather tyres. You can see the sun beating down on the spectators right now. We've also come to learn, having been here, that it can change in a heartbeat, as the team of marshals do a great job in terms of trying to get rid of the standing water across various parts of the track. And of course here, where the tarmac is relatively new, Nico, water does stand around, and put two hands on it, friend, it will go better. One of the things I am qualified at is pushing a broom, you know. Quite good at that. Yeah. So there we can see the grid is always a very busy place ahead of the start of a race, and the sense of eager expectation and anticipation, dare I say it, ahead of the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Am Race 1.
Yeah, and I think we have a little bit of a delay, even though it's not been formally announced, because technically we should be getting underway at 2 p.m. and
we're not.
It's 2 p.m. and there is still quite a lot of people there, and maybe that is just for a little bit or safety reasons, to just allow the track to dry out a little bit.
As I was walking to the studio, I did note that there was some repair work going on to one of the outside barriers. Now, that was absolutely nothing to do with any car making contact with it, but I just think there was some fettling going on, so that may also be a reason behind it. Driver safety is, of course, of paramount importance, and that is why every box has to be ticked before we will go racing. I think gradually people are beginning to leave the grid area now, so we're not far away from the race getting underway. And we saw a recap of what happened in Mugello in Coppa just a short while ago, and it was a remarkable debut really for Zeus Skirmishes, who is going from P3 on the grid today. So it's a second row start for Zeus, but he did a good job, that's for sure, and he'll be hoping to maintain his position within the championship going into this race. You can just see from our drone shot there, that is the green and yellow car that you can see to the left-hand side of your picture. He's got Henrik Kamstrup for company on the second row of the grid. We will, of course, bring you the grid in full in graphics when the cars are released onto their formation lap. But I love this shot as we go down this grid of some 16 Coppa AM drivers driving the Ferrari Challenge, the 296 car, which made its debut in the Ferrari Challenge just a couple of weeks ago at Mugello, and what a car it is. Never before have I seen so many drivers getting out of a racing car with a smile from ear to ear. Absolutely loving this car. 3-litre twin-turbo V6 with 700 HP, but it's a very, very good car to drive. As close to a GT3 car as any challenge car has ever been. And this is Andreas Koenig, full of focus and attention ahead of the start of the race. He goes, of course, from pole position, having set that brilliant lap time. And Eric Chung, a great qualifying from Eric Chung. He goes from P2, Zeus Skirmishes P3, then it's Henrik Kamstrup. As I say, I'll give you the grid rundown in full in due course. So there, just about all non-essential personnel have left the grid now, which means we are getting closer to the race start. Local time, we have 2.5 minutes past 2 o'clock in the afternoon, with the sun shining and the focus of Eric Chung. Going from P2, front row start for Eric Chung. I think Nico's right. I think going into turn number 1 is going to be something of a pinch point here at the Balaton Park circuit. It's 4.110 kilometers long with 16 turns, 10 of them left-handers, 6 of them are right-handers. And we're situated just minutes from Lake Balaton. This is one of Hungary's popular holiday destinations. And the town of Balaton-Füred is famous for its promenade, its parks, its spas and its thermal springs, none of which I've experienced in the days that I've been here. So busy have we been. How lucky are we to be here and be here with the Ferrari Challenge. Looking at the Alvaro Ramos car, the number 150, that mix of green and red across the 296 there, you can see. And just alongside is the Louis Peruschia car from Rosso Corsa going from P16 on the grid. And there you can see the sight that greets the drivers on the start finish line ahead of going into turn number 1. The right-hander that really approaches them very, very fast indeed. Now, it's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. The cars are led round for a lap or more, depending on how race control decide, by the safety car. And then the safety car peels off into the pit lane. Pit lane entry is in itself something of a challenge here. And then the drivers are released, and it will be the responsibility of Andreas Koenig and Eric Chung to control the pace of the rolling start for our Ferrari Challenge Coppa AM drivers. There we can see being on board with Richard Mills' safety car. And I think it's Sandro is safety car driver this weekend. Himself a very, very talented driver, and he will be leading the cars around, and we hope we don't get to see the Richard Mills safety car out during the course of the race. So we think that we have a mix of tyre strategies from teams and drivers, with many on slicks and some on wet weather tyres as well. Do they have weather information that maybe we don't have? Who knows? What we do know is it's going to be 30 minutes plus 1 lap of scintillating race action to come from the Ferrari Challenge. And right on cue, the safety car leads the cars away then on their formation lap. So Skirmishes jumping right out of line to take a look. And you can see how quickly here the track dries. Look at the left-hand side of the track from our drone shot here. You can see a completely different color grey to the almost matte black that you have, where the track remains quite damp in places, but that will soon dry out. So we're on board with the safety car, and you can see the colour change as we bring you the grid in full. Andreas Koenig, pole position at 1:35.831, alongside him is Eric Chung. To the second row, where we find Zoe Skrimpias and Henrik Kamstrup. On to the third row of the grid, it's Mutlu Tazev, Good Quali, Andrea Levy right alongside. To the fourth row, P7 Shintaro Akatsu and Tal Al-Sher. They go P7 and P8. It's Jan Sandman and Roland Hurtner, P9 and P10. And on to the sixth row, where we find Stephen Earle and Paolo Scudieri, P11 and P12. P13 for Hassan Tabusi, with Guy Favet going from P14. That completes row 7, and on row 8 it's Alvaro Ramos and Louis Perusquia going from P15 and P16 collectively. That's the way it looks then of our grid for our Coppa Shell Am Race 1. Got a packed schedule of racing to come this afternoon from the Balaton Park circuit here in Hungary. Now, for the first few laps, unless you're pole position, I think there might be some water coming up. The remaining moisture that is on the track might prove to be visibility challenging for some of the drivers. It will soon settle down and soon move, but there you can see just how tight this and technical this circuit is. I've spoken to many of the drivers who are absolutely loving it. John Dillon in particular at lunchtime I was talking to was saying that you know, it's a really technical track and finds it really, really interesting to race here. So the cars will line up side by side in grid formation, and the Richard Mills safety car will peel off at the conclusion of the lap into the pit lane, and then, as I mentioned, it will be the responsibility of Andreas Koenig and Eric Chung to control the pace of the rolling start. For our first race action of this round 2 of Ferrari Challenge, we're live from the Balaton Park in Hungary. A very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to our second round of our 2024 season. It looks good. They look good, and this is just one of the chicanes that we're approaching now. And just as we walked the track last night, there were new track limit lines being painted onto the chicanes. There you can see at the very left-hand side of your screen, it was a very, very bright white line. Go over that and you're going to get your knuckles wrapped. Think that's fair, isn't it, Nico?
Yes, absolutely. This is where track limits will be administered and looked after the most. And there you can see the start-finish straight. Everybody in pairs. Let's get going.
Yeah, we're ready to race then. And front row, Andreas Koenig, Eric Chung then, as they head towards the lighting gantry. And a little bit of wind around, as you can see, our camera shaking in the wind. Let's go green, let's go racing, Ferrari Challenge style. Great start from Eric Chung. Less of a good start from Andreas Koenig. And you can see that Zoe Skrimpias is already trying to put himself on the inside of the car. Oh, and Andreas Koenig gets sideways. Zoe Skrimpias then gets hit from behind. Well, it was always predicted that turn 1 could be something of a pinch point. I think it was more of a pointier pinch than we anticipated, truthfully, or perhaps less so. It's Eric Chung leading from Henrik Kamstrup. And then 3 abreast into the next sequence of turns. That ain't necessarily going to work. Now, that's the visibility issue that I was talking about, that when you're running through the damp parts of the circuit, then just maybe some spray kicked off from the back of the leading car might cause problems for visibility, but thankfully I think the track has dried out enough. Start is under investigation, we're being informed by race control, and both Zoe Skrimpias and Andreas Koenig, and also Paolo Scudieri, having to make good from further back down the order than they would like. Now, Henrik Kamstrup is looking very lively here, but so too is Roland Hurtner. Roland Hurtner up into P3 for Go Motorsport and the Engstler team, and you can see he's really pushing Henrik Kamstrup now in that P3 position, trying to change that from P3 into P2. The Pirelli tyres squealing in protesters, and the drivers then continue on this opening lap of race 1 for Coppa Shell Am. Eric Chung trying to stretch his legs a little bit, and the top 3 cars have really broken away from Guy Favet, who is running in P4 at the moment. There is Eric Chung, one of the longest-serving campaigners in the Ferrari Challenge, who's raced around the world with Ferrari Challenge, here in Europe, also in what was the Asia Pacific Series, which is now the Japan Series. Sure whether he's raced in North America, but probably knowing Eric, because he loves his racing, he loves the Ferrari Challenge, and he loves leading the race, which is what he does. It's P1 for Eric Chung, P2 for Henrik Kamstrup, and Roland Hurtner banked 7 places right at the start. Guy Favet with 10 places right at the very start. You can see the progress chart on the left-hand side of your grid, and the battle going on further down the order here as the cars get into our second lap of Ferrari Challenge here at the Balaton Park, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that the cars are going out onto the curbs, and obviously they are still wet. And that means the drivers really have to have confidence in the traction that those wet curbs will afford them, and no problems to that effect thus far. Obviously at the start, and we will see a replay later on, Zoe Skirmishes and Andreas Koenig with a little bit of a touch, a little bit of a sideways moment, then it was a traffic jam on the inside, so everybody who was starting on the left-hand side, the outside, had the advantage of not being caught in the traffic jam. But that means the likes of Skirmishes and Koenig will have their hands full in terms of trying to move up the order.
Roland Hurtner diving to the inside of Henrik Kamstrup, and I think he's got that job done and moved up to P2. He positioned the car absolutely perfectly. Fair play to Henrik Kamstrup, who gave him racing room, and sure enough, Roland Hurtner is up to P2, and he will put the chase on now to Eric Chung, who is leading the race by 3 seconds over Roland Hurtner. Then it's Henrik Kamstrup, P3. Guy Favet is running in P4. So the 159 car of Roland Hurtner. I just wonder whether the tyre strategy has been different from Roland to Henrik Kamstrup, and Henrik was almost defenceless to be able to defend. Regret to say that Paolo Scudieri, who I noticed had dived into the pit lane, you can see that from the P alongside his number there, he has gone into the pit lane, so that's a great shame, as we can see Jan Sandman is currently running in P14. However, lots going on throughout the course of this Coppa Shell Am race. Eric Chung is leading, but Roland Hurtner is going to be doing the chasing now. So it is Chung from Hurtner, from Kamstrup, from Favet. Let's take a look at a replay of the start then, and everyone going into that turn number 1. So as the cars were released then, and you can see why the start is under investigation, because the cars, certainly the back half of the grid, were in curious positions actually. But it was a brilliant start from Eric Chung, assuming that race control do not consider that he anticipated the lights, and certainly nothing from race control indicating that at the moment. Then there was something of a domino effect then, because Andreas Koenig had gone around, and that meant that there were other drivers unable to find a way through, and you could see that became something of a traffic jam at that particular moment. So Zoe Skirmishes and Andreas Koenig trying to make their way back up the order now, and well, first in their target sights is the car of Tal El-Sher, and Andreas Koenig has gone through. Here comes Zoe Skirmishes looking for a way past as well. So they're trying to make good, and Andreas Koenig, and they're finding the way past Louis Peruskia as well. Racing room, to be fair, being left by our drivers in Coppa Shell Am. Hampering those that are quicker. Of course, they are protecting their own track position, but the 119 car of Louis Peruskia, who has now got Glutazev there in the 134 car. So Louis, another well-travelled Ferrari Challenge racer who competes not only in Europe but also in North America as well, and just a couple of weeks ago was racing in the Laguna Seca circuit in California. So Eric Chung then, his lead is up to 5.7 seconds right at the front of the pack, and there is Skirmishes trying to continue his efforts in making good what happened right at the very start. And as you can see, the incident in turn number 1 has been noted. Right, let's pick up on this little battle that is going on here then, and battles everywhere you look in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am race 1, and there I regret confirmation of the fact that Paolo Scudieri regrettably is out of the race, and there you can see him in discussion with his engineers, and he'll be bitterly disappointed. Paolo Scudieri, who didn't have the opening round that he hoped with a P8 and a non-classification right at the in the second race, which was very, very unfortunate. He's a brilliant, brilliant driver. Andrea Levy then, and Ramos having a real ding-dong battle that is going on here, and Andrea Levy got the better of it at the moment. Bear in mind that we are potentially aware of the fact that there are some drivers on different tyre strategies to some others. So one thing I do know is that Andreas Koenig is now up to P6 and indeed is chasing down the Ramos car. And a drive-through penalty for car number 198 for incorrect starting alignment. That's Eric Chung, and that means Roland Hurtner is now our race leader, as here comes Andreas Koenig diving to the inside. He's got so much confidence going into that turn number 1. Now, Zoe Skirmishes tries to go around the outside, and the outside becomes the inside for the next turn. A couple of brilliant, brilliant moves there. And also seeing that car 113, which is Henrik Kamstrup, is getting a drive-through penalty as well. So it's all going on in terms of our message board with our race leader, Eric Chung, with a drive-through penalty, and now confirmation on screen, as you can see, that that Henrik Kamstrup, who's running in P4 at the moment, he's got a drive-through penalty as well. That's going to take them out of the sharp end of the running order. That's going to really change the face of this race. So Eric Chung on track is the leader. It's going to be Roland Hurtner, though, that inherits the lead. The 159 car, that's the Go Motorsport Engstler entry for Roland Hurtner, will be leading the race. Here is Eric Chung then. And he has to take his drive-through penalty within 3 laps of it having been awarded. So drive-through penalty for Eric Chung, incorrect start alignment. And the same applies to Henrik Kamstrup as well. So you can see what a lead that Eric has over Roland Hurtner. It is extraordinary, some 14 seconds. Here is Roland Hurtner. And whilst on track, he is still P2. Actually, in terms of genuine classification, he is P1, being chased by Andrea Levy. And then, remarkably, Andreas Koenig and Zoe Skirmishes are up to P4 and P5, which will become P3 and P4. Amazing stuff. And, well, it was Andreas Koenig that we watched with some interest during qualifying, because we didn't see him until the second half of the qualifying session. And then he came in, did a couple of installation laps, and then just set the fastest lap, and it wasn't going to be bettered by anyone during that qualifying session. So the team and their strategy worked absolutely perfectly. Now Zoe Skirmishes is under some pressure here. You can see the Talal Share car getting a little bit loose under braking going into that turn, so Zoe Skirmishes can breathe a sigh of relief just for the moment. But it is all going to liven up significantly. So I remind you then, a drive-through penalty for Eric Chung and a drive-through penalty was awarded to Henrik Kamstrup for incorrect starting alignment. So our race leader is not going to be our race leader. Henrik Kamstrup has taken his drive-through penalty. And right now, here is Roland Hurtner under pressure. And Roland Hurtner, Andrea Levy and Andreas Koenig are P1, 2 and 3 on track. Because, well, P1, 2 and 3 as go through does Andreas Levy then in the 171 car on Roland Hurtner. So Roland Hurtner's virtual lead has gone away now, and in dives. I think that was Ramos that was diving into the pit lane now. To the best of my knowledge, he hasn't got a drive-through penalty. I think not. Anyway, Eric Chung has been in and served his drive-through penalty as well. So the order all of a sudden is very, very different here in this Coppa Shell Am race, of which we have just under 19 minutes plus a lap remaining. Zoe Skirmishes then in the green and yellow car, and just ahead of Zoe Skirmishes is Talal Share. And right, this is the reason why then. In comes the 159 car of Roland Hurtner, who clearly was on wet weather tyres, and therefore needed to come in and change those tyres, because slicks are the way to go right now in this race. It was a gamble right at the start of the race in terms of tyre strategy as to who would be on what and when and where. And obviously Roland Hurtner losing out, which is why Eric Chung had such a lead over Roland Hurtner initially. Here comes Andreas Koenig then, diving to the inside. Many people said overtaking is going to be very difficult here at the Balaton Park circuit. Well, we've seen plenty of it in this Coppa Shell Am race, which has been compelling from start to finish. And we're only halfway through. So Andreas Koenig then doing a good job when you consider that he was right at the back of the pack from the start of the race, even though he started on pole position. And now, Nico, he has wound up, courtesy of a drive-through penalty for Eric Chung. Andreas Koenig is leading the race. Ferrari Challenge, Coppa Shell Am. Always entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is quite a back and forth affair. Now, Eric Chung, he's still in P1, but as you say...
I thought he'd been in.
I saw that Roland Herter had been in, and certainly Henrik Hamstrup has been in, but Eric Chung is for the moment still on track. But as you say, that penalty has been announced. It's not entirely unheard of, but it's extremely rare that a penalty will be rescinded, especially a drive-through penalty. So Andreas Koenig is our provisional leader.
Forgive me interrupting you. If Eric has not been in, I'm sure he's done 3 laps since he was awarded that penalty. So that could be really bad news. But yeah, we see, we wait, we look at the messages all the time on our race control monitor. At the moment, you're right, the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen say that Eric Chung is leading the race ahead of Andreas Koenig. And as you say, equally, Nico, it's not unheard of that a penalty gets rescinded.
Yeah, but a drive-through penalty, that would be a very quick reaction, and obviously the team is probably going to lobby for that. And
yes.
Now, for Eric Chung, he will stay out as long as he can because he's not in traffic. The moment that he takes the drive-through penalty, traffic is something he will have to contend with. But I agree, he would have to come in this lap. Otherwise, I'm sure that the three-lap limit will have been exceeded. So
this must be his 3rd lap, I would suggest, since...
Probably, yes. And he hasn't crossed...
Oh! That's so skirmishes going around. Forgive me interrupting you. I just saw... I have to say, that must be the recovery of the day in terms of getting it turned around in the right place. Now, he's going to have to keep his foot in here, otherwise the car is going to get beached. And that's precisely what's happening. It's what a gravel trap is designed to do. And that's really unfortunate because... he reacted really quickly, just took a little bit too much curb. And precisely as you said, Nico, you go over a curb is like a bucket of water. And that's precisely what happened to him. It's just his recovery. Unfortunately, he went through the gravel trap. He didn't quite have enough momentum, and the car dug in.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say, because he's been so great this season, that probably comes under the column of rookie mistakes.
Yes, I think that's fair.
I mean, it is his 2nd race event, so you can you would expect him to make many more mistakes, if you're being honest, and that was one. Eric Chung hasn't come in, and now, you know, if there is a safety car for that beach car, that will be a huge drama for him, because behind the safety car, you not only lose a few places, you drop all the way back, you'll be at the end of the crocodile. Yes, because you can catch up with the drivers, but you will lose every single place you can lose.
I still find this curious. I really do.
And safety car, sorry for interrupting you, a safety car has been called for indeed.
Well, that is not completely unexpected. So confirmation of the safety car coming out then. And, well, nominally, Eric Chung is leading this race. Now, I didn't dream that the award of the drive-through penalty, I promise you. It was he and Henrik Hamstrup that received it initially. So, I don't know what to say, Nico. Really, I don't, because I'm convinced that Eric has done 3 laps. And as I understand the rules, you know, if you get a drive-through penalty, you have to take it within 3 laps. Now, if the team are on it straight away and complained, maybe it's been rescinded, but I would have thought we'd have seen cancellation of penalty notice, and we haven't.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We will double check and go back in time and have another look at all the messages on the timing screen and see if we can make heads and tails of that. But it is very curious.
So in replay, that is Skirmishes going around, and unfortunately, it was his lightning quick reactions to recovering, but then he got caught out and was beached in the gravel, and that is what has done for us and brought out the safety car. So safety car from Richard Mill leads the cars around. We've got 13 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am race from the Balaton Park circuit here in Hungary. And we ride on board with the Richard Mill safety car, looking at the Eric Chung car ahead of Andreas Koenig, Andrea Levy, Talal Scher, Shintaro Akatsu, then Mutlu Tarzev is P6, it's Guy Fave P7, Louis Perusquia ahead of Roland Hurtner, who came in to change tyres. Then it was Jan Sandman, Henrik Kamstrup, Stephen Earle, and Hassan Tabusi, Vero Ramos, and yes, that's the way it looks. Of course, Zois Skirmishes, we know, is stuck in the gravel, and Paolo Scudieri was a retirement from earlier on, possibly as a result of damage that was caused by the early skirmish going into turn number 1. Okay, so Zois Skirmishes is out, and let's hear from him live now.
I was super young. I love cars, and especially fast and racing cars, since I was 8 years old. I was super happy with the car. I was very confident. I didn't drive the car before. It was just those days in Mugello, but the car felt super nice. And I had very good confidence. I never drove also in Mugello. It was my first time driving in Mugello, so it was everything first time. But I felt super nice. Mugello, it's a track that suits me. It's a very fast track, nice track. I love it, really, I love it.
My mistake, not live, but when we recorded Zois Skirmishes earlier on, and reflecting on various things, and the fact that he absolutely loves being in this Ferrari Challenge, you cannot deny. The man has come into this and certainly has made headlines. That's for sure. So Zois Skirmishes, good to hear from him. We are behind the safety car. On board with the Richard Mill safety car right now. This is Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am. The reason for the safety car is because Zois Skirmishes, who we just heard from, regrettably is beached in the gravel and has had to be recovered. Order is Eric Chung from Andreas Koenig, Andrea Levy, Talal Scher, Shintaro Akatsu, Mutlu Tarzev, Guy Fave, Louis Perusquia, then it is Roland Hurtner, ahead of Jan Sandman running in P10. Graphics on the left-hand side of your screen confirming that as well. So with just under 10 minutes remaining, plus a lap, we're behind the safety car. I wouldn't have thought that it would take a huge amount of time to recover these sort of Skirmishes cars. So hoping that we're going to be going back to racing very, very soon here from the Balaton Park circuit. The first race of our Ferrari Challenge weekend here, round 2 of the Ferrari Challenge with the Coppa Shell Am cars out there for us right now in dry conditions. As you can see, there's always plenty of cloud around seemingly here, but at the moment the track conditions are, well, they were damp to begin with, which caused some drivers to be on the wet weather tyres, but pretty much everyone on the slick tyres now. Safety car heading into turn number 1. You can see the progress chart on the left-hand side of your screen as to who's done what and where from in comparison to where they qualified. And if you look at Andreas Koenig, it says he's lost a place. Well, of course, he started in pole position. Well, he lost more than the place because of the incident right on turn 1. That's his net losing in terms of where he is right now. You will recall that he went almost to the back of the pack, but has done a steadfast job in terms of overtaking plenty of cars to put himself back up into P2. But as on track P2, we still have this curious situation where Eric Chung is leading the race. And I say it's curious, and the reason I'm saying it's curious is because I am convinced that we saw on the screen the graphics that said car number 198 had got a drive-through penalty. To my knowledge, that hasn't been taken. He hasn't miraculously overtaken every other car out there again to be in the lead of the race, and he's certainly done more than 3 laps. So safety car is coming in this lap, so as predicted, it wouldn't be an elongated recovery time. So the drivers get a visual warning from the safety car because the lights go out on the safety car. Those lights are on the top of it, and then it is back to racing again. Andrea Levy then, who's running in P3. Talal Sher is P4, Shintaro Akatsu P5. And, well, it is down to whoever is leading the first car after the safety car to control the pace of the restart. And, it's only then that once they cross the safety car line that we can go back to racing. So on this occasion, it's going to be down to Eric Chung to control, and when he decides to give it 100% on the loud pedal, he's not allowed to then slow up. He's got to stay accelerated once accelerating. And there you can see the Zeus Skirmishes car has been put to safety, and Zeus walks away from the car, probably bitterly disappointed, but it was very, very unfortunate because he'd done everything well in terms of recovering the car very, very quickly. You can see just how keen Andreas Koenig is to get going here. Eric Chung accelerates away. Andreas Koenig tries to anticipate as well. And we go back to racing again then as they cross the safety car line. We are back with the Coppa Shalam race 1 underway with 6 minutes plus a lap remaining. And into turn number 1, Eric Chung goes, being chased down by Andreas Koenig, Andrea Levy, and then getting past Hassan Debussy there. You can see there is plenty going on, and bear in mind the all-blue car you can see right at the back of the pack is Henrik Kamstrup. He, of course, did get a drive-through penalty, served it, and is now chasing from the back of the pack, and he also getting by Hassan Debussy. So here is Eric Chung then with Andreas Koenig right behind for good measure, and Andrea Levy, who of course will come under pressure from Talal Sher, and also Shintaro Akatsu also. So where's Andreas Koenig going to go for a move on Eric Chung then? Well, he's taking a look at the inside into this turn and chicane. Going to be very, very difficult there. He'll try and pile the pressure on Eric Chung ahead of him. And as the cars accelerate out, you can see how desperate Andreas Koenig is to try and find a way past the 198 car. He just dipped one of his wheels into the gravel there, but no harm done. Andreas Koenig then driving for the Go Motorsport Haupt Racing team, and Eric Chung keeping an eye in the rearview screen. These cars don't have internal rearview mirrors. They have a big, big screen, which the drivers love as Andreas Koenig goes around. He just carried a little bit too much speed out of the final turn, lost the back end of the car, didn't make contact with the barriers, I think, kept it out, and another great recovery that we've seen here, and he is back. So it's Eric Chung from Andrea Levy and Talal Sher now, as Andreas Koenig then just with a little bit too much speed coming out of the final turn. Let's see it again. So it's here. And he just picks up a little bit of grass. So he was over the curb and onto the grass, and that just unsettled the back end of the car. I think he may have made contact with the front right-hand corner on the barriers, front left-hand corner, I should say. But lightning quick reactions. He spun it around and got going once again, and has recovered into P6. You can see there Luca Engstler looking on, and Luca Engstler, of course, driving for the Franz Engstler team. Franz Engstler missing this weekend, and Luca taking his place. So he was taking a look at everything that was going on out there, and it was a big, big recovery from Andreas Koenig, that's for sure. but that has relegated him to P6 from the P2 position that he was running in. So Eric Chung from Andrea Levy and Tal El-Sher with 3 minutes plus a lap still to do. The 1-2-4 car then of Tal El-Sher chasing down Andrea Levy, but Andrea appears to have the measure of it at the moment. And Shintaro Akatsu, well, could be on for a podium here. Currently running in P4 in the 115 car. Good shot from turn number 1 then from our drone. So this is the battle that's going on for P2, 3 and 4 that we can see and we're following right now. This is our race leader, Eric Chung, for Formula Racing. And then this three-way fight for P2, well, perhaps it's not quite a three-way fight for P2 yet, but it's getting closer and closer. As here is Andreas Koenig, who I have to say, if there was an award made for the number of overtakes executed during the course of a race, he would get top honours because he's been past so many cars, and there was getting past the Alvaro Ramos car. So it now quickly becomes a three-way fight that is going on for P2. Andrea Levy currently P2, Tal El-Sher P3, then it is Shintaro Akatsu. Rubbing his hands with invisible soap is Eric Chung, who sets the fastest lap, a 1:37.975 in his quest to take the checkered flag. So Andrea Levy, Tal El-Sher, P2 and P3. And for Andrea Levy, you can see the progress. For Tal El-Sher, you can see the progress as well. Up 4 and 5 places respectively. So as Andreas Koenig, coming out of the final turn, lost the back end of the car and just glanced the barriers, he is now fighting up from P6. You could just see him come into our shot there. So Andreas Koenig, as I say, has overtaken more cars than anybody else, I would suggest, in this race. And now he's running in P6. So it is Eric Chung, P1, Andrea Levy, P2. Andrea Levy just breaking away a little bit from Tal El-Sher, because Tal El-Sher is fully occupied by Shintaro Akatsu. And we've got 3/4 of a minute plus a lap to run. Eric Chung, our race leader then, in car number 198. There is P2, Andrea Levy going through. And there, Shintaro Akatsu really doing the chasing down now. What a race this has turned out to be. We thought there would be drama. There has been plenty of it, that's for sure. And it probably ain't all over yet, because nothing is done until the checkered flag flies clearly. So a time penalty of 5 seconds being awarded to car number 186 for track limits. Now that isn't going to affect the top runners. That's Jan Sandman receiving that time penalty. There then, the 115 car, as I mentioned, of Shintaro Akatsu driving for our Nico. And he's pushing Tal El-Sher. Well, he was pushing him harder than he's pushing right now. As we start the final lap with Eric Chung P1, Andrea Levy P2, then it's Tal El-Sher P3, Shintaro Akatsu P4, head of Mutlu Tarsev and Andreas Koenig, who sets the fastest lap. And Andreas Koenig then running in P6. He was vying for the lead of the race and just caught a little bit of grass coming out of the final turn. That was enough to pirouette the car around. He glanced the barriers, but a good recovery sees him back into P6. So Eric Chung from Andrea Levy and Tal El-Sher, they are the top 3 in this Coppa Shalom Race 1 here from Balaton Park this afternoon. And what a race it's been. We've had safety car, we've had different tyre strategies, we've had more overtakes than you can shake a proverbial stick at. And through it all is the 198 car of one of the longest campaigning Ferrari Challenge drivers, Mr. Eric Chung, for Formula Racing. Eric and his wife Corinna they're always at Ferrari Challenge events because his wife accompanies him everywhere. And I've spent so much time with Eric Chung in various airport lounges after a race weekend. They're jolly good company, truly lovely people. And Eric, of course, is a formidable racing driver, and he has but one turn to do before Eric Chung will see the checkered flag. Followed by Andrea Levy, Talal Sher, P2 and P3, then it's Shintaro Akatsu, Andreas Koenig, Mutlu Tarzev. Jan Sandman, of course, is going to pick up a time penalty. Now, will that mean that he loses that P7 place? I think he's probably going to lose out to Roland Hertner and Stephen Earle and also Henrik Kamstrup. So Jan Sandman ends up P10 in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am Race 1. The winner is Eric Chung. Now, I'm still, and forgive me being, it's not very often I'm quiet, not renowned for that, but Nico, can you put some light into this? As far as I'm concerned, and I think the world of Eric Chung, you know that, but I'm convinced I saw that Eric Chung had received a drive-through penalty at around the same time Henrik Kamstrup did for incorrect alignment at the start. I'm sure I saw it, not only on our message screen, but also in graphics on our output screen as well.
Yes, we checked the recording of the messages on the timing screen, and indeed it is there. So we didn't imagine it. Immediately afterwards came the Henrik Kamstrup message, as you say.
Yeah.
Is it possible that it was kind of a typo, and they put the wrong message and they kind of rescinded it, but it wasn't officially rescinded? But there was, if he had been given the penalty and it was active, he would have received the black flag long ago,
yes,
because he would have ignored them. So my interpretation, and it's only an interpretation, is the number was incorrect on the timing screen, and it wasn't 100% clarified afterwards. For my money, the result,
is a race winner.
Eric is a race winner. The result stands. Well, you know. New circuits, sometimes the communication isn't quite smooth. Happens to all of us.
The only thing I would say is you mentioned about a typo there. I mean, 198 and 113 ain't even close in terms of making a typo, are they? Well done, Eric. Let's let him celebrate the race win, because as far as we're concerned, he is race winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, Eric Chung, and a great race, a very entertaining one for Mystery and others, but great performance by our drivers.
This is great to see. The camaraderie within the Ferrari Challenge paddock is to be applauded. It is fantastic. Of course, all the drivers are competitors out there, been congratulated there by Roberto Viva, one of our official photographers. There is Eric with Corinne, and that's great to see. Andrea Levy, P2, Talal Sher, P3, the Scuderia Lebanon driver. Wow, well, that is a race full of intrigue and mystery. Of that, you're utterly correct. And there the celebrations all around. Nice to hear the emotions as well. So we'll bring you confirmation of the classification just as soon as we can. Shintaro Akatsu finishing in P4 here. Confirmation then, Eric Chung, race winner, ahead of Andrea Levy, P2, Talal Sher, P3. Shintaro Akatsu then was P4, ahead of Andreas Koenig, Mutlu Tarzev, Roland Hertner, Stephen Earle, Henrik Kamstrup, Jan Sandman, Guy Favet, Louis Peruskia, Alvaro Ramas, and Hassan Dabusi.
Eric, congratulations. Today was a very perfect day for you. In this morning, you made a perfect qualifying session in a tricky condition, but now we need to concentrate on your race, a perfect race.
Yeah, I thought I have a good start, but then suddenly I got a message I have to go a drive-through. So I pushed and then tried to gain some time, and I did the drive-through. And eventually I still got the podium, so I'm very happy. And thanks to my coach, Marco.
Now the focus is on race 2 for tomorrow.
Yes, of course, yes. I'll try my best. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that would suggest that Eric did serve his drive-through. Let's have a look at the highlights then. Which the highlights are our brilliant team of volunteer marshals out there making sure the track is ready for our next race. Right, and for the second time of asking, here come our highlights. So, having heard from Eric Chung then, here is the Coppa Drivers' Championship as it stands right now. Zoe Skirmishes leading the Drivers' Championship ahead of Andreas Koenig. Then it's Andrea Levy, Paolo Scudieri, then Henrik Kamstrup, Roland Hurtner. Then, as you can see, the rest of the Drivers' Championship unfold in front of you. So, having heard from Eric Chung, he took his drive-through penalty very, very quickly, which quite clearly all of us missed. And well, he's going to be on the top step of the podium, which is where we're going next. Michele Mambelli then will organise all the drivers on the podium. And they're taking P3 is Talal Sher.
From Italy, Andrea Levy.
Here comes Andrea Levy then, P2 on the podium.
And the winner is, welcome back on the podium, the winner, Eric Chung.
Well done, Eric. He's on the top step of the podium.
Racing. National anthem.
Formula Racing represented as we get the national anthem right now.
Our claps for these winners, and the trophy are presented by Niklas Nielsen.
Niklas Nielsen is here, Ferrari factory driver, to make the trophy presentations. He'll be joining us on the air very, very soon. And Niklas, a charming young man and a super racing driver who made his name initially in the Ferrari Challenge, having had a karting and single-seater career, but he really came into his own in the Ferrari Challenge, and now finds himself, of course, driving one of the hypercars. Absolutely awesome driver. And he's on trophy presentation duties as all the drivers pose for the photographs.
please. Okay, all with Niklas too. Okay.
And there they are.
And please, guys, take
Focus
your
of
trophy
the
with you.
media on
Okay,
our top
take your
3
trophy
in
with
Coppa
you.
Shell Am.
Smile. Picture from Balaton circuit.
Well done to all of our drivers.
Okay, now wait a second, Niklas and Miss Formula Racing.
And right now
out of
it's
the
going to be
podium,
time
and
to
the
celebrate
show
who's
is
going to be
not
quickest
over
with the champagne
without
here at Balaton Park in Hungary.
champagne!
Well, it is going to be Andrea Levy. So the celebrations up there on the podium. And the cars that propelled their drivers from Scuderia Lebanon, Talal Shared, he takes P3. The Rosso Corsa race up, Andrea Levy then, he takes P2. And it's P1 for the Formula Racing driver Eric Chung. That's it from Coppa Shell Am. Race 1, Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am race to come very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.